I used to be obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. Every new game series upload felt like a new episode of the greatest mystery on the internet. I'd watch the videos, jump into the comments, read the Reddit theories, and then go back into the games to see if I'd missed some tiny detail hidden in a newspaper clipping or an 8-bit minigame. But somewhere along the way, the story stopped feeling like a mystery and started feeling like homework. So that got me wondering, when did FNAF stop feeling like FNAF? Now, before anyone gets mad, this isn't a hate video. I don't hate Scott Cawthon. I'm not saying the newer games are bad. This is just a perspective of someone who grew up with the series and thinks the original story had something special. Back when FNAF first came out, the mystery was the game. Gameplay was simple: sit in an office, survive the night. The lore hiding underneath was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Nothing was outright explained. Instead, Scott gave us just enough information to start asking questions. Who's the purple guy? Why are the animatronics haunted? What happened to the missing children? Every answer created 3 new questions, but it never felt random. It felt intentional, like there's an actual puzzle waiting to be solved. And honestly, half the fun came from waiting for the next game series episode. Looking back, those videos were almost as important in my childhood as the games themselves. Then came FNAF 4. I know the Dream theory is controversial, some people hate it, but honestly, I think it works better than some people give it credit for. Whether Scott actually intended it or not, there's enough evidence that it could have been a satisfying explanation for everything we'd seen up to that point. Then there's the box, the most infamous box in gaming. Over 10 years later, we still don't know what was inside. Scott has even said the contents changed over time, and I think that's kind of the problem. By never opening the box, the story never truly had to commit to an ending. It always left the door cracked open just enough to keep adding more. For me, the cracks started showing the sister location. Now don't get me wrong, I actually like that game. The underground facility was creepy, the voice acting was great, Baby is still one of my favorite characters. But it's also the point where the story started getting dense. Suddenly we had secret underground laboratories, remnant, advanced robotics, Michael Afton literally surviving after just getting scooped. It was still interesting, it just wasn't simple anymore. Then FNAF 6 came out. Michael Afton accidentally causes the death of his younger brother. He spends the rest of his life trying to undo the damage his father caused. He survives things that honestly he shouldn't have survived. And finally, he burns everything down. Every haunted animatronic, every loose end, his father included. Then comes the ultimate custom night. Whether you believe it's William Afton trapped in hell or trapped in his own personal purgatory, doesn't matter. The point is, the villain finally loses. After everything he's done, he's finally forced to suffer forever. That felt like an ending, and actually satisfying. Then William Afton came back anyway, except he didn't. Except he did. Except he didn't. Suddenly, Fazbear Entertainment scans an old circuit board into a VR game. Now it's William's consciousness, somehow existing as computer code. Now he's glitch trapped. Now he's infecting people's minds through his VR headset. Now he's manipulating Vanessa. I'm not saying it's impossible. The series shouldn't be possible, but I like fiction. But it feels like it completely undermines the ending that Ultimate Custom Night gave him. It's like comic books. Nobody stays dead anymore. William dies, he comes back. Michael dies, but Michael's kind of not dead, or is not dead. The characters burn, they survive, people possess robots, people possess computers. Eventually, death stops meaning anything, and when death has no consequences, neither do the sacrifices. The books. Where do we begin? This is probably my biggest criticism of modern FNAF. Scott has said the books and the games are separate continuities, fair enough, but then why does it feel like you need both to understand either one? Fans constantly use the novels to explain what's happening in the games, then parts of the books make a lot more sense if you've played every game, so technically they're separate, but they're constantly explaining each other, and that raises a weird question. If 2 stories need each other to make sense, are they really separate stories? Back then you just needed the games and maybe a theory video or 2. Now it feels like you need several novels, guidebooks, timeline charts, and a whiteboard covered in red string. At some point, solving the mystery stopped being fun and started feeling like studying for an exam. And look, I get it. FNAF prints money. If you've owned one of the biggest horror franchises ever made, you'd probably keep making games too. I don't blame Scott or Steelwolf for wanting to continue something people clearly love. But from a storytelling perspective, it feels like the story lost its soul. Originally, every reveal felt like it was building towards an ending. Now, every ending feels like it's setting up another sequel. Instead of asking how does this story end, it asks how do we keep this story going. But even after all that, I'll always love FNAF. It introduced me to mystery storytelling, it made theorizing feel exciting, game theory turned every new release into an event. Those memories are gone everywhere. Maybe that's why I'm so critical now, because I know how incredible this series was when every clue felt meaningful and every answer felt like progress. And maybe the best mysteries aren't the ones that will last forever. Maybe they're the ones that are brave enough to end.